The patrol vessel drifted through the empty darkness at the edge of Council space. Officer checked his instruments for the third time, certain that something was wrong with the equipment. The signal on his screen made no sense. It used a frequency that had been silent for 4,000 years. "Run the scan again," his captain ordered from across the bridge. Obeyed, but the result remained the same. Something was out there, broadcasting on a channel that belonged to a dead species. He felt cold despite the warmth of the ship. On the Council, High Arbiter sat in his chamber reviewing trade agreements when the report arrived. He read it twice, then dismissed it with a wave of his long fingers. Equipment failure, nothing more. The humans were gone. Everyone knew this. The Council had made sure of it 4,000 years ago, long before was born. But Scholar thought differently. The young historian had spent years studying the ancient records, learning about species that no longer existed. When she saw the patrol report, her heart began to race. She recognized the signal pattern from her research. It matched human communication codes perfectly. She requested an audience with the High Arbiter, but was turned away. Nobody wanted to hear about ghosts. Far beyond the reach of Council sensors, Commander Sam stood on the bridge of his flagship, the New Dawn. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen too much. Behind him, through the massive viewing window, stretched a fleet that would make any species tremble. 12,000 vessels hung in the void, each one carrying the descendants of Earth. Admiral Kate approached him with a data pad in her hand. She was younger than Sam, but her face carried the same weight of history. Every human learned the story as a child. Every human remembered. "The patrol vessel detected our signal," Kate said. "They will report to the Council." Sam nodded slowly. Good, it is time they knew. Dr. Ben Torres joined them at the window. He was the keeper of memory, the historian who had dedicated his life to preserving every detail of what the Council had done. In his mind, he carried the names of 14 billion dead. He would never let the galaxy forget. 4,000 years, Ben said quietly. "We have waited 4,000 years for this moment." Kate looked at the fleet behind them. "Our ancestors would be proud. They fled with nothing but hope, and we return with the power to shake the stars." Sam remembered the stories passed down through generations. When the Council voted to destroy Earth, they sent their warships without warning. The planet burned in a single day. 14 billion humans died in fire and darkness, but some escaped. A handful of generation ships fled into the unknown, carrying the last survivors beyond the edge of mapped space. Those survivors traveled for centuries, searching for a new home. They found hostile worlds and empty systems. They nearly died a dozen times, but they refused to give up. They rebuilt their numbers slowly, developed new technology, and created a civilization far from Council eyes. Now their descendants had returned, and they were no longer weak. Captain Nate Griffin entered the bridge with quick steps. He was the youngest officer on the command staff, but he had earned his position through skill and dedication. He piloted the New Dawn with steady hands and a heart full of purpose. "Commander," Nate said, "all ships report ready. The fleet awaits your order." Sam turned to face his officers. These were good people, the best humanity had to offer. They had trained their entire lives for this moment, not for war, but for something more difficult, something that required strength of a different kind. "We do not go to destroy," Sam said, his voice firm but gentle. "We go to remind. We go to demand what was taken from us. Not blood, but truth. Not revenge, but justice." Kate straightened her shoulders. "The Council will not surrender easily. They have spent 4,000 years believing they were right to kill us." "Then we will show them they were wrong," Sam replied. "Not by becoming what they feared, but by becoming what they never expected." Ben Torres pulled out an old book, its pages worn from centuries of handling. It contained the names of every human who died when Earth burned. He had read it so many times that he knew it by heart. For them, Ben said, holding the book against his chest. Everything we do for them. Sam placed his hand on Ben's shoulder. They will not be forgotten. The galaxy will remember what happened to Earth. Every species will know the truth. He walked to the command console and opened a channel to all 12,000 ships. His voice carried across the fleet, reaching every human who waited for his words. My fellow humans, Sam began, today we end our long exile. Today we return to the galaxy that tried to erase us from existence. Our ancestors fled in fear and despair, but we return in strength and purpose. We are not here for war. We are not here for conquest. We are here because the Council must answer for what they did. They destroyed our world. They murdered our people. They thought we would disappear from history, but we survived. We grew strong, and now they will face judgment. He paused, looking at the stars that had been humanity's prison for so long. Activate the translation beacons, Sam ordered. Let the galaxy know that humans have returned. Across the fleet, signals burst forth into the void. The message was simple, broadcast in every known language. It traveled at the speed of light toward Council space, carrying words that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. We remember what you did. We have returned for judgment. On the Council, Scholar watched her instruments as the signals arrived. Her hands trembled as she read the translation. The ghosts of Earth had returned, and they wanted answers. In his chamber, High Arbiter received the same message. For the first time in his long life, he felt genuine fear. The species his ancestors had tried to destroy was no longer dead. They were coming, and they remembered everything. The galaxy would never be the same. The Council Assembly Hall had never been so crowded. Representatives from 100 species filled the ancient chamber, their voices rising in fear and confusion. The human signal had spread across every network in Council space. There was no hiding from it. There was no pretending it did not exist. High Arbiter stood at the central platform, trying to maintain order. But even his authority meant little against 4,000 years of buried guilt finally rising to the surface. Silence, commanded, his voice echoing through the hall. We must discuss this calmly. Eldera pushed through the crowd toward the platform. She was ancient, her scales faded with age, but her eyes still burned with cold intelligence. She was one of the few beings alive who remembered the vote that destroyed Earth. She had cast her voice in favor of extinction. There is nothing to discuss, declared. The humans should be dead. If they have survived, they must be destroyed again before they reach us. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Some agreed with the elder. Others looked uncomfortable, as if hearing the truth spoken so plainly made them sick. Scholar watched from the back of the hall. She had tried to warn them. She had tried to tell them that the signals were real. But nobody had listened to a young historian. Now she stood in silence, wondering what would happen next. General, the supreme military commander of the Council fleet, stepped forward with confidence. He was a massive creature, built for war, and he had never lost a battle. My forces are ready, announced. We have 10,000 warships at our command. If the humans want war, we will give them war. They cannot have grown strong enough to challenge us. On the human flagship, Commander Sam watched the Council's reactions through intercepted transmissions. Their panic did not bring him pleasure. He felt only a deep tiredness, the weight of carrying humanity's pain for so long. Ambassador Dawson stood beside him, preparing her own message. She was a woman of sharp mind and controlled emotions. Her family had kept records of Earth's last days, passed down through generations. She knew exactly what words to use. They are afraid, observed. Good, fear might make them listen. Sam shook his head slowly. Fear made them destroy Earth in the first place. We need something more than fear. Admiral Kate entered the bridge with updated intelligence reports. The Council is mobilizing their fleet. General commands 10,000 vessels. They plan to intercept us before we reach their core worlds. Dr. Ben Torres looked up from his old book of names. 10,000 ships against our 12,000. They think numbers alone will save them. Kate allowed herself a small smile. They have not seen what our ships can do. 4,000 years of development, 4,000 years of improvement. Their weapons are toys compared to ours. Sam raised his hand for silence. We are not here to compare weapons. Ambassador Dawson, please deliver our terms. Moved to the communication console and opened a channel that would reach every corner of Council space. Her voice was calm and clear, carrying the authority of a species that had survived genocide. This is Ambassador Dawson of the Human Coalition. We address the Galactic Council and all species under its authority. 4,000 years ago, your ancestors voted to destroy our 14 billion humans died in that attack. Our cities burned. Our children screamed. Our history turned to ash. She paused, letting the words sink into the minds of everyone listening. We did not return for revenge. We did not return for territory. We returned because justice demands an answer. The Galactic Council will stand trial for genocide. You will acknowledge what you did. You will explain why you did it, and you will accept judgment. In the assembly hall, the species representatives erupted in chaos. Some shouted in anger. Others sat in stunned silence. A laughed, a harsh and bitter sound. They want us to stand trial, the elder mocked. As if they have any right to judge us. We did what was necessary. We protected the galaxy from a dangerous species. But Scholar had heard enough lies. She slipped away from the hall and returned to her private study. Her hands trembled as she accessed the restricted archives, using codes she had spent years collecting. The truth about Earth's destruction was buried deep, hidden behind layers of security, but was patient and she was clever. What she found made her sick. The records showed that Earth was not destroyed because humans were dangerous. They were destroyed because a statistical model predicted they would eventually surpass all other species. The Council had murdered 14 billion people because of a projection, a guess about the future, a fear of potential rather than actual threat. The files to a secure device. She knew what she had to do. The galaxy deserved to know the truth, even if her own people had tried to bury it. She sent a secret transmission to the human fleet, offering to share everything she had found. She did not know if they would trust her. She did not know if they would believe an alien who came from the species that destroyed their world. But she had to try. On the new dawn, Dr. Ben Torres received the transmission. He read it 3 times before bringing it to Commander Sam. A council scholar wants to meet us, Ben explained. She claims to have evidence about why Earth was destroyed, full records of the decision. Sam studied the message carefully. It could be a trap. Kate crossed her arms. Almost certainly a trap. The council wants to draw us into an ambush. But Sam saw something in the words that gave him pause. The scholar's message was desperate, filled with shame and regret. It did not read like a military deception. It read like a confession. Prepare a shuttle, Sam decided. Ambassador Dawson will meet this scholar in neutral space. If she speaks truth, we will have the evidence we need. If she lies, we will know soon enough. Nodded, already preparing for the journey. I will find out what she knows, and if the council tries anything, our fleet will respond. Sam watched her leave, then turned to the viewing window. The stars stretched endlessly before him, hiding secrets and lies and 4,000 years of silence. Somewhere out there, the truth waited to be spoken, and humanity would finally hear why their world had died. The shuttle moved through empty space toward the meeting point. Captain Nate Griffin kept his hands steady on the controls while Ambassador Dawson reviewed her notes in the seat behind him. They were far from the human fleet, far from safety. If the council wanted to kill them, this would be the perfect opportunity. Sensors show a single small vessel ahead, Nate reported. No weapons signatures, no other ships in range. Looked up from her notes. She came alone, either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both, Nate suggested. The two vessels met in the darkness between stars, crossed through the airlock into the alien ship, where Scholar waited with fear in her eyes. The young alien was smaller than expected, her thin arms wrapped around a data storage device like it was precious treasure. "Ambassador Dawson," said, her voice shaking, "thank you for coming. I know you have no reason to trust me." Studied the alien carefully. "You are correct. Your species destroyed our world. Why should I believe anything you say?" Held out the data device. "Because I found the truth, and the truth is worse than you imagine." They sat across from each other as activated the files. Holographic records filled the small cabin, showing council meetings from 4,000 years ago. The voices of long-dead leaders echoed through time, discussing the fate of Earth. "Human population growth exceeds projections," one voice said. "Their technological advancement follows an exponential curve. Within 500 years, they will surpass our most developed species." Another voice responded with concern. "What threat do they pose currently?" "None. They have not left their solar system. They have shown no hostile intentions, but our models predict they will eventually dominate the galaxy if allowed to continue." Felt her heart grow cold as she watched. The council leaders debated not what humans had done, but what they might someday do. There was no crime. There was no attack. There was only fear of potential. The final vote appeared on screen. Species after species cast their voices. Destroy, destroy, destroy. Only a handful voted to spare Earth, and they were overruled by the majority. The last image showed Earth burning. Cities vanished beneath orbital bombardment. Oceans boiled. Mountains crumbled. 14 billion voices screamed and then fell silent forever. Hands clenched into fists. She had always known her ancestors were murdered, but seeing it so clearly, hearing the casual way the council discussed extinction, made her want to scream. "They killed us because we might become great," said, her voice barely controlled. "Not because we did anything wrong, because we scared them." Lowered her head in shame. "Yes, my ancestors committed genocide against your people because of a prediction, a mathematical model. They murdered 14 billion humans because they were afraid of the future." Closed her eyes, breathing slowly to calm herself. She thought of her grandmother, who had told her stories about Earth. She thought of the old photographs her family kept, showing blue oceans and green forests that no longer existed. She thought of all the humans who had died never knowing why. "Why did you bring this to us?" asked. "Your people will call you a traitor." Met her eyes. "Because someone needed to tell the truth. I have spent my life studying history, believing my civilization was built on justice and wisdom, but we were built on murder, on lies, on the bones of your dead." She paused, her voice breaking. "I cannot undo what happened, but I can help you prove what was done. The galaxy needs to know." Took the data device and held it carefully. This was the weapon humanity needed. Not ships or missiles, but truth. "Come with us," offered. "The council will punish you for this." "I know," said, "but I would rather die honest than live with this secret." They returned to the human fleet together. Commander Sam and Dr. Ben Torres reviewed the evidence in silence, their faces growing darker with each revelation. "We always knew it was unjust," Ben said finally, "but this is beyond unjust. This is madness. They killed billions of people because of a chart, a graph, numbers on a screen." Sam's expression remained calm, but his eyes held deep pain. Now the galaxy will see the same evidence. Every species will understand what the council did and why. Admiral Kate entered with urgent news. "Commander, we have a problem. Eldera discovered that was accessing restricted files. Council security forces are hunting for her." Sam looked at who stood quietly in the corner. "She is safe with us. The council cannot touch her here." "That is not the problem," Kate continued. "General is using disappearance as justification for immediate military action. He claims we kidnapped a council citizen. His fleet is moving to intercept us." The command bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The council did not want the truth to come out. They would rather start a war than admit what they had done. Sam turned to face his officers. "How long until reaches us?" 12 hours, Kate answered. "He outnumbers us slightly, but our technology is far superior. We can win this fight." Ben Torres stepped forward, his old book clutched against his chest. "If we fight, we become what they feared. We prove them right." Kate shook her head. "If we do not fight, they will destroy us again. We cannot let that happen." Sam raised his hand for silence. He walked to the viewing window and looked at the stars. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he turned back to his crew with quiet determination in his eyes. "We will not fire first," Sam declared. "We will not become destroyers. If attacks, we will defend ourselves without striking back. Let the galaxy see who brings violence and who brings peace." Kate's eyes widened. "You want us to take their fire without responding?" "Yes," Sam said. "Our shields can handle their weapons. Our technology has advanced beyond theirs. We will absorb their assault and advance without harming a single council vessel. And when the galaxy watches us refuse to kill, they will understand who the real monsters are." The bridge crew exchanged uncertain glances, but one by one they nodded in acceptance. They trusted their commander. They believed in his vision. Humanity would return to council space not as conquerors, but as something far more dangerous. They would return as the species that chose mercy over revenge. The human fleet arrived at the coordinates where Earth had once existed. Now there was only an asteroid field, millions of rocks drifting through space where a living world had orbited the sun. The remains of humanity scattered across the void like forgotten memories. Commander Sam stood at the viewing window, looking at the debris that had once been mountains and oceans and cities full of life. Somewhere in that field floated the dust of 14 billion people, his ancestors, his family, his history. Dr. Ben Torres joined him at the window, carrying his ancient book. "We should hold a ceremony. The dead deserve to be honored." Sam nodded slowly. "Open a channel to all human vessels and broadcast it across the galaxy. Let everyone watch." The transmission went live, reaching every ship in the human fleet and every receiver in council space. Billions of beings across the galaxy turned their attention to the asteroid field where Earth had died. Ben Torres stood before the camera and began to speak. 4,000 years ago, this was our home. We called it Earth. Blue oceans covered most of its surface. Green forests grew across its lands. Cities rose where billions of people lived and worked and dreamed." He paused, his voice heavy with emotion. "In a single day, all of it was destroyed. The council voted to end our existence because they feared what we might become. They sent their warships. They burned our world. They murdered everyone who could not escape." On vessels throughout the human fleet, families gathered to watch. Children who had never seen Earth listened to stories of what was lost. Old people wept, remembering tales passed down through generations. "We will now observe 1 hour of silence," Ben announced. "For the 14 billion who died, for the world that burned, for the future that was stolen from us." 12,000 human ships went dark, their engines quieted, their lights dimmed. Across the fleet, not a single voice spoke. The descendants of Earth stood in silence, mourning a world they had never seen. General watched the ceremony from his command vessel. He saw the human fleet floating silent and vulnerable, their defenses lowered for the memorial. A cruel smile crossed his face. "All ships prepare to attack," ordered. "Target their flagship, destroy them while they grieve." Some of his officers hesitated. "General, they are holding a funeral. Attacking now would be seen as dishonorable." "They are enemies," snapped. "We do not give enemies honor, fire." The council fleet unleashed everything they had. Thousands of weapons tore across space toward the silent human vessels. Energy beams and missiles and torpedoes streaked through the darkness, aimed at ships that made no move to defend themselves. The attack struck home. Explosions rippled across human shields. Fire surrounded the New Dawn and her sister ships. The galaxy watched in horror as the Council fleet bombarded vessels that refused to fight back. On the bridge of the New Dawn, Admiral Kate reported the damage with steady voice. Shields holding at 92%. Their weapons are not penetrating our defenses. We can continue absorbing fire indefinitely. Sam watched the assault through the viewing window. Council weapons splashed harmlessly against human shields, beautiful and terrible like deadly fireworks. He felt no anger, only sadness. The Council had learned nothing in 4,000 years. "Maintain position," Sam ordered. "Do not return fire, do not power weapons. Let them see who we are." The bombardment continued for 20 minutes. Screamed at his gunners to fire faster, to use heavier weapons, to find some way through the human defenses. But nothing worked. Human technology had advanced far beyond Council understanding. Their shields absorbed every attack without failing. Across the galaxy, billions watched in shock. The humans could clearly fight back. Their ships had the power to destroy the Council fleet in moments, but they chose not to. They stood in silence, honoring their dead while their enemies tried to murder them again. One by one, ships in the Council fleet began to withdraw. Captains from species who had grown disgusted with the attack refused to continue. They powered down their weapons and drifted away from command. "What are you doing?" demanded over the fleet channel. "Return to formation." "We will not fire on a funeral," one captain replied. "This is wrong. The humans have done nothing to threaten us. They are mourning their dead and we are killing them for it." More ships. The Council fleet fell apart as officers chose conscience over orders. Within an hour, had lost half his forces to desertion. Eldera watched from the Council, her ancient face twisted with rage. She had waited 4,000 years for the humans to return, confident they would come seeking revenge. But this passive resistance confused her. It made the Council look like monsters while the humans appeared noble. Sam opened a channel to the remaining Council vessels. His voice was calm and gentle, without anger or accusation. "Is this who you still choose to be?" Sam asked. 4,000 years ago, your ancestors attacked our world without warning. Today, you attack our funeral without shame. We have not fired a single weapon. We have not harmed a single being. Yet you cannot stop killing us. He paused, letting the question hang in the void. "We are not your enemies. We never were. You created this conflict because you feared what we might become, but look at us now. We have the power to destroy your entire fleet and we choose not to use it. Is that what you feared? Mercy? Restraint? The choice to be better than our pain?" More Council ships powered down their weapons. Found himself commanding fewer than 2,000 vessels against a fleet that could not be damaged. "This battle is over," Sam continued. "Not because we won, but because there was never a battle to fight. We came for justice, not war. We came for truth, not blood. Lower your weapons and let us pass. We have business with your Council." The human fleet began to move forward, advancing through the asteroid field that had once been Earth. Council ships drifted aside, making way for the vessels that carried humanity's judgment. Screamed orders that no one obeyed. His fleet had abandoned him. His weapons had proven useless. His confidence had shattered against human shields and human mercy. The New Dawn passed through the defeated armada and set course for the Council. Sam stood at the viewing window, watching the stars slide past. "We are almost there," Kate said softly. 4,000 years and we are almost home." Sam shook his head. "This is not home. Earth was home. But perhaps we can build something new here, something better than what was lost." The human fleet crossed into Council core space, unstoppable and unharmed. The final confrontation waited ahead, and humanity would face it without blood on their hands. The human flagship entered orbit around the Council as billions of aliens looked up at the sky in fear. For 4,000 years, They had been taught that humans were dangerous monsters who deserved to die. Now those monsters had returned, and they had proven that everything the Council said was a lie. Commander Sam transported down to the surface with Ambassador Dawson, Dr. Ben Torres, and Scholar. They walked through empty streets toward the assembly hall, passing aliens who watched them with a mixture of terror and curiosity. No one tried to stop them. No one dared. The doors of the assembly hall opened, and Sam stepped inside. Every representative of every council species had gathered to witness this moment. High Arbiter sat at the central platform, his face pale with dread. Eldera stood beside him, her ancient eyes burning with hatred that had survived 4,000 years. Sam walked to the center of the hall and looked around at the gathered species. These were the descendants of those who had voted to destroy Earth. They had inherited the guilt of their ancestors, whether they accepted it or not. "I am Commander Sam of the Human Coalition," Sam began, his voice carrying through the silent hall. "We have returned to seek justice for the crime committed against our people." A step forward immediately. "You have no right to judge us. Your species was a threat to galactic stability. We did what was necessary to protect ourselves." Dawson activated a holographic display that filled the hall with the evidence had provided. Council meetings from 4,000 years ago played for everyone to see. The voices of ancient leaders discussed Earth's destruction not as self-defense, but as elimination of competition. "Listen to your own ancestors," said coldly. "They did not kill us because we threatened you. They killed us because we might become greater than you. They murdered 14 billion people because of a prediction." The representatives watched in horror as the truth unfolded before them. Many had never seen these records. Many had believed their ancestors acted in justified self-defense. Now they saw the reality. Their civilization was built on genocide against an innocent species. High Arbiter rose slowly, his head bowed with shame. "I was not alive when this happened. My generation did not make this choice. What would you have us do?" Sam met his eyes steadily. "We did not come here to destroy you. If we wanted revenge, your would already be burning. We have the power to do to you exactly what you did to us." He paused, letting the words settle into every mind. "But we are not you. We did not spend 4,000 years building weapons of vengeance. We spent 4,000 years building a better civilization, one that does not murder out of fear, one that does not kill those who might someday challenge us." Ben Torres stepped forward, carrying his ancient book. He opened it and began to read names aloud. Human names, Earth names, the names of those who died when the world burned. Maria Santos, age 42, teacher. David, age 7, student. Grace, age 81, grandmother. He continued reading, one name at a time. The hall fell completely silent as the weight of 14 billion deaths pressed down upon everyone present. I shouted at him to stop. "This proves nothing, they are just names." "They were people," Ben replied without raising his voice. "Each one had a life. Each one had dreams. Each one was murdered by your ancestors because of fear." He read for 3 hours without stopping. His voice grew hoarse, but he refused to rest. The representatives sat frozen in their seats, unable to move, unable to look away. Some began to weep. Others buried their faces in their hands. When Ben finally closed the book, the silence was absolute. Sam spoke again, his voice gentle but firm. "Here is our judgment. We do not demand your destruction. We do not demand your surrender. We demand only this: you will remember." He raised his hand toward the holographic display. "Every year on the anniversary of Earth's death, the entire galaxy will observe a day of silence. Every school will teach what happened to humanity and why it was wrong. Every child of every species will learn the truth about the Council's crime. This is our judgment. Not death, but memory. Not vengeance, but truth." A lunged forward with rage in her eyes. "You think memory is punishment. We will forget within a generation. Your dead will become nothing but old stories. Stepped forward to face her fellow alien. No, Elder, we will not forget. I have already shared the evidence with historians across the galaxy. The truth is spreading faster than you can stop it. Your lies died today. The young scholar turned to face the assembly. I was raised to believe the council stood for justice. I was taught that humans were monsters who deserved to die, but I found the truth, and the truth showed me that we were the monsters. Our ancestors murdered an innocent species because they were afraid of potential. She pointed at Sam and his companions. Look at these humans. They had every reason to come here and burn our worlds. Instead, they came asking for acknowledgement, for truth, for the simple dignity of being remembered. High Arbiter stepped down from his platform and approached Sam. The two leaders stood face to face, representatives of civilizations separated by 4,000 years of pain. On behalf of the current council, said slowly, I accept your judgment. We will remember. We will teach. We will carry the shame of what our ancestors did. He lowered himself to his knees before the human commander. I am sorry. Those words cannot bring back your dead. They cannot heal your wounds, but they are all I have to offer. One by one, other representatives knelt as well. Species after species acknowledged the crime of their ancestors. The assembly hall transformed from a place of power into a place of confession. Sam looked down at the kneeling aliens with no satisfaction in his eyes. There was only tired relief, the release of a burden carried across 4,000 years. Rise, Sam said quietly. We did not come here to see you kneel. We came here to see you understand. Ambassador Dawson announced the terms of humanity's return to galactic civilization. Humans would settle new worlds as equals among the stars. They would trade and cooperate with council species. They would build a future together with those who had once tried to destroy them. Not because the past was forgiven, not because the pain had healed, but because hate could not build a future worth living in. Later that day, Sam stood alone at the edge of council space, looking toward the distant coordinates where Earth's remains drifted in silence. Captain Nate Griffin and Admiral Kate waited nearby, giving their commander privacy for his final words. We did it, Sam said softly to the stars. We survived, we came back, and we proved them wrong. He thought of all the generations who had lived and died during the long exile. The grandparents who told stories of blue skis to children who had never seen them. The scientists who built better ships while dreaming of return. The soldiers who trained for a war they hoped would never come. You gave us everything, Sam continued. Your hope, your strength, your belief that humanity could be more than victims. Today we honored that belief. He placed his hand against the viewing window, reaching toward the distant place where Earth had been. 4,000 years of darkness ended today, not with fire but with light, not with revenge but with truth. Rest now. Your children have come home. Behind him, human ships spread across the galaxy, finding new worlds, building new futures. The species that the Council had tried to erase from existence now stood among the stars as equals. Humanity had returned, and they had proven that their greatest strength was never their technology or their numbers. It was their choice to become something better than their pain.